In tonight for Neil Cavuto. Show me the money. That's what taxpayers should be asking tonight. After receiving billions of dollars in emergency aid, the nation's banks say they can't account for how they're spending that money, your money, or they just simply refuse to disclose it. Texas Republican Ron Paul, he joins me now on the phone. Congressman, what do you make of all of this?
Well, it looks like it's more of the same old story. The taxpayer coughs up, the money's passed out, and nobody knows what happens to it. But even sometimes we don't even appropriate the money. There's $2 trillion the Fed has issued, and they tell us that it would be counterproductive to tell us where it's going. So we don't have any oversight, and now the banks stiff us. But, just not too long ago, we had a report that we passed out $23 billion in Iraq for rebuilding, and it's totally lost. Nobody can account for it. I don't know how long this can last. It doesn't make any sense at all, and yet we limp along, but nobody should be surprised that we're in financial difficulty when we run our affairs the way we do.
Yes, sir, I understand that, but you're a congressman. Don't you guys have the power to enforce some accountability here?
You would think so, and I'm on the banking committee. Every year I've been in Congress, I've been on the banking committee. I've always been interested in monetary policy. I'm on the domestic monetary policy subcommittee, but I have no authority whatsoever to look at what the Federal Reserve does, and that, of course, is the big culprit. But the question you asked earlier about part of the TARP money, that's money appropriated by Congress, but they rushed it through. There was a panic. There was fear in the land, so there were no restrictions placed on the legislation. And now the congressmen come up late and say, hey, why don't you tell us what you're doing? And they either don't know or don't want us to know and don't feel compelled to tell us. But, as bad as that is, the real problem is why are we in the business of taking money from one group and handing it out to another group? We take money from the people who are successful and give it to the people who are unsuccessful. So that's the part. If we'd stop right there, then we wouldn't have to worry about this oversight. We shouldn't even be in the business of propping up and bailing out everybody.
But the fact of the matter is, though, sir, that we are in very difficult straits here. I mean, obviously, you have been opposed to TARP and you're opposed to bailouts, but a lot of other folks would say, you know what, under the free market system that Ron Paul says that we should be looking at, this is how we got in the mess in the first place. What do you say to the millions of folks out there who are just simply confused because one way certainly didn't seem like it worked because it got us into this jam, and now there doesn't seem to be a solution?
Well, it's completely wrong, and I think that's the key question. If they get away with that argument that the free market caused these problems, we'll never win. We'll never get our freedom back. We'll never get sound money back. We'll never believe in the market again. We'll never believe in property again, property rights. Because we got in this trouble because we had a funny money system based on total fiat, money created out of thin air, and we believed in big government spending, big government regulations, depend on the SEC and Sarbanes-Oxley and everybody else would take care of us. And all the spending and all the money that we appropriate is all spent outside of the marketplace. So it is the biggest mistake in the world that we can make is to think for a minute that our problems today are the result of capitalism and freedom. They did this in the 30s, and that is really when we got off track. They said that the Depression came, because of free market capitalism and the gold standard. Completely false, and we're still suffering the consequences. And this time around, we're liable to lose everything if we don't wake up and realize it's the lack of freedom, the lack of sound money, and lack of oversight of our government and our government agencies, the Federal Reserve and the Treasury. That's where the fault is.
Congressman Paul, I have just 20 seconds left. A lot of folks in the regular media, the mainstream media, are just talking about executive perks with this money. Do you worry, though, that there could be something beneath the surface that's more nefarious, that's a ticking time bomb, and that's why they're spending this money and not telling us where it's going?
Oh, sure. That's the nature of government. I mean, first they take it illegally, then when it's spent irresponsibly. But do you think that we can gather up all these funds and pass them out and think we're going to be giving this money to angels and wonderful things will come of it? That would be totally naive. That's why we shouldn't be in the business of doing this. So, yes, I think when the dust settles, we're going to find out a lot of mischief has been going on.
Thank you very much, Congressman Paul. Appreciate it every time you're on the show.